Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another event coverage video. This time we're going to go over the top 8 of ARG Indy, kind of talk about the meta and how it shifted from the UK Games Expo event that happened in Europe over the last weekend. And then we're also going to go over a small recap of the AnimeNext tournament from PPG. It was a smaller tournament, so we're not going to look too deep into it, but it was a cool event nonetheless, some cool decks topped. So we're going to look at the ARG Indy event as the main kind of data determiner from the meta, I think, at least. But we're going to look at both events and talk about them. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you guys want to stay updated for the awesome Dragon Ball Super content that I post here. And if you end up liking the video, maybe drop a thumbs up on this video. That'd be really, really awesome. So that being said, we'll get right into the top cut breakdown. So we're going to look at top 8 from ARG Indy. There were about 130 players, so they did a top 8 cut, and we're going to look at each deck. And it was a pretty diverse top cut, honestly, even though a lot of people are saying that the format's dominated by Janemba, dominated by Victory Strike, dominated by Height of Mastery, certain leaders like Broly or by like Janemba. The meta was very diverse, which is kind of cool. There are a lot of the same packages, but one deck was super diverse, so we'll talk about it right now. So we got one Purunga Victory Strike in top cut. So this deck was actually very interesting to me. I felt like it could have maybe just been better with the regular Shenron leader being able to, triple attack with height after, using one of the swings. But this actually did feature Explorer Bulma, which I thought was kind of interesting. I'm not really sure how this benefited the deck as much without Child's Wish. You could maybe world piece it out, but doing it turn 4 maybe is just a little bit too late because you're not getting all that energy untapped. The thing with Child's Wish was you paid 2 for Explorer Bulma, you get 2 back. If you want a hard cast world piece, you're paying 4 and only getting 2 back. So not really sure what the full benefit of that was, but I guess you could do some cool things where you use your Purunga leader ulti on turn 4, get back and Explorer Bulma, just get some free card advantage, get extra combo power for your Height of Mastery. So I can see that being a thing. Pretty cool nonetheless. With a powerful engine like Victory Strike, you're going to win a lot of matchups, like especially Janemba and Skillless and a lot of other slow matchups. They have a hard time kind of dealing with Victory Strike. So nonetheless, very cool, innovative concept. So congratulations to this player. The next up, we had one Skillless that did end up making it to the finals against a Janemba player, ended up winning the event. So congrats to this player. This was a mono blue Skillless, so we continue to see the trend of mono blue Skillless dominating the tournament scene. It won the last event at the UK Games Expo in a very similar finals matchup to another Janemba deck, and it won both times. And this one is also featuring the Gogeta 7 package, so that is kind of the top end. I actually saw the finals of this game. It was very, very interesting how the Skillless player tapped out on 5 energy for Gogeta 7, made the Janemba players lose their entire hand, and they couldn't necessarily kill him on that turn, but it just set the Janemba players so far back that even with another turn, Janemba couldn't mill out the Skillless player. Janemba couldn't really remount an offensive against the Skillless player essentially. So the Gogeta 7 was enough to basically put the nail in the coffin, so to speak. And of course, when you're playing against Janemba, getting that Sparking 10 is going to be incredibly easy because they're milling you out. Obviously, it might not be the easiest thing for Skillless to do naturally, so in a lot of other matchups it might be a little bit lackluster, but I think most of these builds are only playing 2 Gogeta 7, so it makes sense. It's a really good build. It's a really good win con for the mono blue build, and it's kind of interesting to me how most of the other color spectrum of Skillless aren't doing as well. We don't see any mono yellow in this top cut, we don't see any red in this top cut, which a lot of people were really big fans of the red builds of Skillless, the 2 different ones featuring the Android 8 with the Chi combo, and then the more red aggressive build, intensifying power trunks, fearless pan, things like that. So congratulations to the blue Skillless player for winning the event. Very solid, and I do think that it has a great matchup against Janemba if you know how to play it right. Like me, for example, I never awaken in the matchup. I just use my leader to draw 1 card every turn, and by drawing 1, you're not helping your opponent mill you out, and you're still gonna be a 15k leader every single swing. So that's really solid. Congratulations to this player again. Then we had one Black Broly in top cut. So if you guys have no idea what the Black Broly leader is, I'm going to bring it up on screen here. This is a really old promo leader from the, I believe it was the re-release of the Broly movie from, obviously from like the 90s or the early 2000s. They remastered it for the movies, and you got this promo in that movie. And so this was basically a hand control crit dot deck, and this is actually going to have a lot of good matchups across the board. If you think about it, it's obviously really good against Janemba. Janemba cannot handle hand control, and every time the leader swings, you crit yourself a life, mill 3, so you're setting up for any overrun plays you want that cost 4 or less, and your opponent has to ditch a card every single time this leader swings. So there's the inherent hand control there, and on the backside you have board control options by just discarding any single card, and again, when you swing, you can pop one of your battle cards and you can make your opponent discard a card. So really powerful effect, especially in this format where Janemba is just like pretty dominant. The Janemba has the most representation in top cut, so this Black Broly leader is really interesting, and it's red green, so it's playing both 4 intensifying power trunks and 4 newfound powers in Gohan, so you have all that crit pressure coming in. It's 8 crit take a life attackers, so you're getting awakened very fast, and you have access to the new dual color Gogeta. This guy did tech 2 dual color Gogeta, so just tons and tons of pressure. This seems really much like an aggro deck that just played really good green and red cards. So I think this is a really cool, innovative deck. I definitely want to test it going forward. Really, really good, really cool. Congrats to this player again. Now we come to the boogeyman of the format, I guess you can say, one of them at least. I think you have 2 spectrums. I think you have Victory Strike, Hidden Mastery decks on one spectrum, and Janemba on the other spectrum. And Janemba actually was the most highly represented deck in this top cut spread, in this top 8. And you know, no surprise here. The deck is incredibly consistent. The deck's incredibly powerful because it's just hard. It's just so hard for so many decks to kill if you can't get enough board pressure. Because really, you have like 7 turns to kill Janemba, but with all the defense they have, all the pseudo combos, the negates, and the Mafubas, they have so much defense that it's so hard to kill them, even though they bring you to an extended game, right? No other deck in the format, unless maybe you're talking about like a skillless mirror match or a red mirror match, no other games in the format are going to go to 6, 7, 8 energy except Janemba. But it's even then, like, you might think your deck benefits from a longer extended game, but no deck benefits from it more than Janemba, which is pretty insane to think about. So I think we have a pretty like square shaped format essentially. I think you have whatever beats Hidden Mastery Victory Strike, and then I think Hidden Mastery Victory Strike beats Janemba, and I think you have Janemba beating most other decks, and I think you have most other decks beating whatever beats Hidden Mastery Victory Strike. I think if you, basically what I'm trying to say is, I think if you build your deck to beat Hidden Mastery Victory Strike, you do make some concessions against Janemba and vice versa. If you make your deck to beat Janemba, you have some concessions against Hidden Mastery Victory Strike. I really think it's hard for blue skillless to beat Hidden Mastery Victory Strike, especially if you can't get yourself to that 4 life. If you're playing the Roshi super combo, you could play the Trunks Overseeing super combo, which will activate a Sparking 5, giving you the ability to, you know, use a super combo in your higher life, which is kind of nice. But if you're not at a lower life total and you're not flipped over, you're not really going to be able to get the maximum card advantage that skillless can have. So I do feel like skillless will, you know, kind of struggle against a lot of Victory Strike decks, but skillless is so popular and so highly represented that it makes sense that some of these skillless decks did dodge the Hidden Mastery Victory Strike decks. And of course, not everyone owns a Victory Strike. It is a $400 card, so that makes perfect sense. So next up, we had 1 green yellow Broly. This did miss the UK Games Expo top cut, so it's kind of cool to see it make an appearance back here. Again, another good deck that has a good matchup against the Hidden Mastery Victory Strike decks, but from my experience, at least, it does struggle against Janemba if you don't hit that Secret Rare. If you don't hit the Secret Rare, they pretty much negate all your big attacks. They out combo the smaller ones like 25Ks. And then you kind of struggle from there to make it through. And then rounding off this top 8 spread, we had 1 yellow Broly Hidden Mastery Victory Strike. In the ARG Indy top cut, I'm really surprised to not see any U7 Victory Strike. That is kind of interesting to me because I do feel like it's a very, very good build of the deck. You know, not ever after giving your opponent advantage is obviously absurdly powerful, right? You know, yellow Broly, you do have to swing to give your opponent advantage, so you might have to put your opponent in that awakened position, making something like skillless a little bit of a harder matchup. Same thing with Purunga, right? You can passively gain advantage. You don't ever have to give your opponent cards, and then you can just Victory Strike them at 8, 7, 6 life, right? Yellow Broly, if your opponent's smart, if they don't give you things to attack, you're gonna have to attack their leader several times in order to gain advantage. So it's a really interesting concept, but again, maybe no one played U7, maybe it had a really low representation. We don't have all the representation data for this event, but we just know that in the past, skillless and green Broly have been very highly represented. I think skillless will continue to be that way. Green Broly maybe not so much if Janemba is gonna be so popular, but yeah, yellow Broly Victory Strike, very popular deck again. No wonder it made top cut. So overall, like I said, very, very diverse format, which is really cool. You know, a lot of people will complain about Hidden Mastery and Victory Strike and Janemba, and don't get me wrong, I'm no fan of those cards, to be completely honest, but this is one of the most diverse formats we've had in a super long time, and I really, really enjoy it, you know? And there are counters to Hidden Mastery, there are counters to Victory Strike, there are counters to Janemba. You're not going to be able to counter every single deck in the format unless you crack the perfect deck, which I don't really think is super possible in this format, but again, like, that's just going to happen in card games for the most part. I think as time goes on, they'll print more cards that help us generically against Janemba, which will be really helpful, maybe generically against Victory Strike, but like, you know, for now against Victory Strike, we have things like Revenge Death Ball for Baby, all the red negates are really good against Victory Strike, and then Janemba, like I said, I do think that skillless maybe not a hard counter, but I do think it has a favored matchup against Janemba. So I do think you can play decks that will kind of help you in this entire format. But with that being said, I think you're gonna run into certain matchups that are just not gonna be in your favor most of the time. So real quick, guys, we'll go over the AnimeNext spread. This was only a 20-player event, so not too much to look at from, I think, a whole meta perspective, because the results are kind of skewed. You know, only 20 players means only very selective data pool was here. And so top 4, we had Demigra. Shout out to Peter Katani for making top 4 with Demigra. That was honestly pretty sick. He messaged me about the deck to get some feedback, and I was like, you're gonna play this before the anniversary box comes out, because I think the 2 Demigra is really, really good. But he's like, yeah, I want to play it this weekend. You know, I got to play something rogue, and congratulations to him. He did top out of 20 players. That was pretty solid. And apparently his deck was wrecking upstream. That was super dope. Next up, we had a Dende Wish in Top Cut. Now, from what I've experienced, this deck had a lot of lackluster matchups. Like, certain decks that is plus too hard for this deck to be super good, like Skillless and Gogeta Ramp, they kind of plus too hard. But in the face of things like Janemba and in the face of things like Victory Strike decks, I think this deck's actually really good because those decks don't plus as hard. And if you can take out their key pieces, I think you're gonna have a really good time. So shout out to this player. Yellow Broly Victory Strike, no surprise there, and U7 Victory Strike. So we didn't see any U7 Victory Strike in the top 8 of ARG Indy, but this deck did get top 3 at AnimeNext. So again, super powerful ability, especially against the Janemba decks where you don't have to give them advantage. A lot of people actually play Janemba at the AnimeNext event, so I'm sure this deck absolutely tore the floor with them. A lot of these decks really, most of these decks really have a good Janemba matchup. You know, Demigra is another hand control deck. You have the 4-dot Demigra that constantly rips your opponent hand out. Then you have the Dende Wish, which will just drop their super combos to the board and punch over them. You have the yellow Broly Victory Strike deck, again, Victory Strike, and U7 Victory Strike as well, just rounding that off. You know, all really good Janemba matchups, and pretty good Skillless matchups as well. Maybe not so much Demigra and Dende Wish, but obviously the Victory Strike decks as well. So a very diverse meta here in the Dragon Ball Super card game, coming out of basically the middle of set 6, which I think is super dope. I think we're moving into an amazing format. I'm really excited for the regional competitive season. Hope to see you guys at regionals. If you guys are going to any regionals, let me know in the comments below. I'm trying to go to Richmond, so hopefully I'll see you guys there. Hopefully I can make it out there. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about the format as well. Let me know if you're happy about it. Let me know if you want anything to change. Let me know how you feel about it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.
Alright, now that you guys finished watching that video, they should have never banned fucking Child's Wish. They shouldn't. Super Shenron was the best deck in the game. Super Shenron was the best!